What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the channel. My name's Rock Soldier, and today we're going to be reacting to Lane Boy by 21 Pilots, continuing our Blurry Face journey. And I'm super excited to be checking out this video, man. I know it's been a couple days since I've uploaded. Over the weekend, we went to go see 21 Pilots in their hometown in Columbus, Ohio. I cannot wait to release that video to you guys, man, because all I'll say is, you know, they performed 2 hours, and it was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. And we did some other things that I know you 21 Pilots fans will appreciate. So I'm just super excited for that video, man. So that'll hopefully be sometime towards the end of the week, maybe this weekend, hopefully, is where I'm aiming for with that. But for right now, guys, we have Lane Boy by 21 Pilots, man. Let's get it.
Change every other time, change, cause our minds change and what we think is good.
Okay, facts. Okay, so right off the bat, right, they could be talking about, you know, they say stay in your lane, boy, right? Kind of, you know, just stay in your own lane, man. You just, you know, don't be making waves, kind of, so to speak. And they kind of go on to say, you know, if it was our way, you know, we'd have a tempo change. They say if it was our way, we'd have a tempo change every other time change, because our mind changed on what we think is good. He's basically saying, you know, we would make that change. You know, we won't stay in our lane, so to speak. You know, we would make that change every single time if we could, because what we think is good has changed. We evolve as people, right?
If it was our way, we'd have a tempo change every other time change, cause our minds change and what we think is good. I wasn't raised in the hood, but I know a thing or two about pain and darkness. If it wasn't for this music, I don't know how I would have thought this. Regardless, all these songs I'm hearing are so heartless. Don't trust a perfect person, and don't trust a song that's flawless. Honest, there's a few songs on this record that feel common. I'm in constant confrontation with what I want and what is popping in the industry. It seems to me that singles on the radio are currency. My creativity's on the free when I'm playing shows. They say stay in your lane.
Okay, so I was definitely off the mark. Maybe not completely off the mark, a little bit. Right? I thought I was taking it more in like in real life, but I think this definitely has to do with like his perspective on music, so to speak, as an artist, right? So, you know, they stay in your lane, boy, right? They, you know, just do you, go, you know, make the popular music, man. You know, just follow the mainstream, follow the highway, so to speak, right? It's a straight road ahead, so, you know, so to speak, right? And they're kind of saying they don't want to do that, and kind of going back to the first part of the verse, you know, we'd have a tempo change every other time change, because you know, our minds changed, you know, what we think is good, and you know, what we like in music and is not necessarily always going to stay the same. And I think, you know, that's been pretty clear so far. I mean, just even in the reactions that we've done between Scaled and Icy and Blurry Face, like these two albums sound completely different from each other, right? And they go on to say that, you know, I wasn't raised in the hood, but I know a thing or two about pain and darkness. Basically kind of saying that, you know, just because I may have not been in a bad situation my whole life doesn't mean I know about bad things. Right, and he goes on to say, you know, if it wasn't for music, I don't know how I would have gotten through this. It's basically where, you know, I'd be able to pour it all out and you know, focus it in a good, positive, creative way, productive way as well. So then he goes on to say, don't trust a perfect person, and don't trust a song that's flawless. I mean, I feel like that line's pretty straightforward, and it's so true though, right? Like, you know, there's no such thing as a perfect person. And therefore, there's no such thing as a perfect record, because at the end of the day, artists are just people who make music, and there's no such thing as a perfect person. And he goes on, there's a few songs on this record that feel common, but I'm in constant confrontation with what I want and what is poppin' in the industry. It seems to me that singles on the radio are currency, and my creativity is only free when I'm playing shows. Ooh, that is a lot right there, man. And I can say that's so true, man. When like I said at the beginning of the video, my sister and I, we went to go see 21 Pilots over the weekend in their hometown, and it was one of the most creative shows I've ever been to in my life. Right? They didn't even necessarily perform every single track in the way that it was released, right? You know, they like to switch a lot of things up, and they did an incredible job with that. But he's saying he's in constant confrontation with what he wants to make as an artist and kind of what the fans expect or what the industry expects him to make, kind of going back to the highway, staying in your lane, right? And that just like singles on the radio are just currency. And he's talked a lot about the radio so far on this album, specifically in Heavy Dirty Soul. And I believe there's a little bit in Fairly Local as well. And I think there was a touch of it too, possibly in Tear My Heart. So, but you know, he says, you know, there's a few records on this song that feel common. Kind of maybe talking about like Stressed Out and Ride, maybe even Tearing My Heart a little bit out of the ones that we've heard so far. But I mean, as we looked at those songs, like those songs have, you know, very, very deep meaning, and they may sound really good, really mainstream on the surface, but you know, once you really start to dive into the lyrics, we know that's not the case. And you know, so he kind of feels in this struggle with, you know, keeping an audience entertained, but also trying to be him and be 21 Pilots, be themselves, and you know, be a little experimentative and change how they sound and stuff, you know, and they don't really want to be worried as much about what everyone expects them to make, right?
Currency, my creativity's on the free when I'm playing shows. They say stay in your lane, boy, but we go where we want to. They think this thing is a highway, but will they be alive tomorrow?
So Tyler, I don't know if you guys noticed, it's just something I noticed in the music video. It seems like when he goes on to say in the chorus, you know, stay in your lane, boy, he kind of does this like walk that is like out of pace, like he takes like a bunch of extra steps and stuff. And I think it's just kind of like a way of like, you know, showing that he's not going to stay in the lane, right? Because if you notice, the two guys in the hazmat suits behind him are kind of walking in line, and he was walking in line with them until he goes on to, you know, say that line. Kind of maybe almost signifying that he's not going to stay in his lane and follow the norm, so to speak.
Highway, but will they be alive tomorrow? They be alive tomorrow. I'm sorry if that question I asked last scared you a bit like a hazmat and a gas mask. If you ask Zach, he's my brother, he likes when I rap fast. But let's backtrack, back to this. Who would you live and die for on that list? But the problem is, there's another list that exists and no one really wants to think about this. Forget sanity, forget salary, forget vanity, my morality. If you get in between someone I live and me, you're gonna feel the heat of my cavalry. All these songs I'm hearing are so heartless. Don't trust a perfect person and don't trust a song that's flawless. They say stay in your...
Okay. So he says, I'm sorry if that question I asked last scared you a bit like a hazmat. And if you ask my brother Zach, he likes when I rap fast, which personally I'm a big fan when Tyler likes to rap fast too. Specifically because he talks a lot about rapping in his songs and how it affects the radio play of his songs, even though he does like to do it, right? And he goes on to say, but let's backtrack back to this. So see, it almost seems like he like took a break, right? I'm sorry if that question I asked last scared you a bit like a hazmat. And then it seems like he takes a break and goes on like to say that, you know, kind of goes on this like tangent real quick, you know, digresses to that his brother likes when he raps fast. And then he goes, okay, let's backtrack. Let's get back on track. And, you know, let's backtrack back to this. Who would you live and die for on that list? And that's something we talked about on the song Ride, where he talked about a list of people that you would take a bullet for, right? Because, you know, we all have that kind of list of people who would, you know, think that we would take a bullet for. But honestly, if we wanted to dive in that part, we can check out the Ride reaction. But, yeah, so he goes on to say, you know, let's go back to that list. But the problem is that there's another list that exists and no one really wants to talk about it. And then he goes on to say that, you know, forget sanity, forget salary, forget vanity and morality. If you get between someone I love and me, you're going to feel the heat of my cavalry. And I think this is basically just signifying that the other list is not who you would take a bullet for, but who would you put a bullet in, kind of, so to speak, right? You know, who's on the hit list, so to speak, who's on the no list. You know, because he's kind of saying, you know, if you come between someone I love and me, if you do something to hurt someone that I love, you know, he's gonna protect them, right? He's gonna, I'm not obviously not as far as like kill someone, but you know, he's going to do everything within his reasonable power to fix this for this person that you love, and probably more so talking about his very close friends and his family, I would assuming. And then once again he goes back to saying that all these songs I'm hearing are so heartless, don't trust a perfect person, and don't trust a song that's flawless. So I think there's kind of like a two-way street in this song. Like, you can definitely talk about how it relates to real life, when you kind of got people just reaching for that level of perfection, right? That they never do anything wrong. I'm sure we've all met someone like that. And then the same thing kind of applies to the music, right? And that basically saying that they're not going to attempt to put out perfect records, because one, there's no point, and two, that's not them anyways. Like, they could I'm sure they could make every single song on their albums just absolute bangers and all of them be on the radio, right? But what's the point in doing that, right? They say they'd rather be them and put out the music that they would kind of like to make.
Don't trust a perfect person, and don't trust a song that's flawless. They say in your lane, boy, and we go where we want to. They think this thing is a highway,
Sharpie.
but will they be alive tomorrow? They say stay in your lane, boy, and we go where we want to. They think this thing is a highway, but will they be alive tomorrow?
That was definitely 21 Pilots on the left. I don't know what was on the right. Oh, this is cool. They had to do something like this at the concert. Kneel to his contest, tempted by control, controlled by temptation. Stay low, they say. I like that. Okay, so I was kind of wondering what the whole deal with him like kneeling throughout the video was, and I think it kind of has to do with that. You know, they say stay low, they say stay in your lane, boy. But here, obviously, him and the rest of the clique, they're not gonna stay low. They're gonna make waves. They're gonna make splashes. They're not gonna stick to the norm, right? And they're gonna do them and do the things that they want to. I really like the symbolism in this part of the video. That was really cool, man. I love how they interact with the crowd, man. I point to the mic. You gotta make the norm bend to you. Bow to you, I mean. There you go. Alright, so that was Lane Boy by 21 Pilots off the Blurry Face album. And man, I loved everything about the song, man. I love the energy to it. I love the music video. I loved, especially at the end, how he kind of showed part of the crowd. I wonder what concert that was from, because man, that must have been amazing to be at. Some outdoor venue. I don't know. If any of you guys know where that is, let me know. But I loved everything he was talking about, man. It threw me a little bit for a loop there at the beginning. But yeah, I think it's just overall talking about the music industry and his perspective as an artist, and how he doesn't want to be confided to the norms of maybe the genre that they're labeled under, or just what fans expect and what the industry expects for them to make. You know, they want to be able to make music that they can, and that's kind of the contradiction and the struggle that he has as an artist, is making the music he wants to, or making the music that you know everybody wants to hear on the radio. And he's talked a lot about the radio on the album so far, so I'll be interested to see where they go. The other thing I forgot to mention is that again, they've made a lot of references to like driving or like cars, and obviously we got Ride, and we saw them on the tricycle, and Stressed Out. Heavy Dirty Soul has the car that's on fire. In this one, they're talking a lot about the highways and staying in your lane. So there's been a lot of car references. So I wonder what the overall meaning is there and how it relates to the album as a whole. I'm interested to see it, like how that progresses as we continue throughout the album. But overall, man, I really enjoyed this track, and hopefully you guys did as well, man. And if you did, please make sure to leave a like, hit that sub button, hit that bell to know we're dropping the next one. That's all I got for you guys for now. It's your boy Rock Soldier. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Have an even better day tomorrow. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Alright, guys? Peace.